Hi everyone, welcome back to my lab and today's video, which is going to be my review of the Fenty Beauty Pro Filt'r Hydrating Longwear Foundation. This is one of the foundations that I picked up during the Sephora Summer Sale, and a lot of you were curious about this one, and so here I am to share my thoughts with you on this foundation. If you're new here, I'm Yori. Thank you for clicking on my video. I hope you'll find it helpful and consider subscribing to my channel. I bring you brand new videos 3 times every single week on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. And also, as you saw in the thumbnail, I am a dry skin type. I have more mature skin. My skin concerns are dry skin, fine lines, and wrinkles, and I have a little bit of hyperpigmentation in my cheek area. My areas of most concern are my under eye circles. Now that we have those housekeeping items out of the way, let's go ahead and start this review. Here is your outer packaging of the foundation. It claims to be a hydrating longwear foundation that delivers comfortable medium to full coverage in a natural finish, perfect for normal to dry skin. The outer packaging is really nice, very on brand for Fenty Beauty. It has kind of that urban feel to it. I was very excited when this foundation was released because the first foundation from Fenty Beauty, I actually enjoyed it, but it was more of a full coverage than I typically go for in my day-to-day life. And so when I heard that this one was a hydrating foundation, I mistakenly assumed that it would also be lighter coverage when essentially it has a similar coverage to the Pro Filt'r Matte Foundation, except for this one has a different finish and it is a more hydrating formula. So that was my mistake for getting too excited and not reading through carefully, because the brand has very clearly expressed that the coverage is going to be medium to full. Here's the packaging of the foundation itself. It does come in a squeeze tube, but this tube does have a pump on it. So despite the fact that the foundation comes in a squeezy tube, it does have a pump. I haven't actually pumped this foundation. I am filming my review based on my experience with a sample that I had prepared at the store. That way I don't have to waste product if this isn't something that is going to be for me. In terms of the amount of product that you get 1.08 fluid ounces, which is typical for a liquid foundation, and the shelf life is going to be 12 months. Very pretty packaging, though I must admit I prefer the packaging of the matte foundation. It's just so beautiful and sophisticated in that frosted bottle. This one is just a little bit less impressive in terms of its appearance, but it is going to be a lot more convenient if it's something that you want to toss in your makeup bag and carry around. Now, the foundation does retail for $35, which is a very reasonable price point for a higher end foundation, and it comes in 50 shades. We can always count on Fenty Beauty to have a very inclusive shade range with a lot of attention to detail paid to undertones as well. This review is not a first impression. The one sample that they gave me was enough for me to get 3 to 4 uses out of it, and I probably could get even more, because when I use my very favorite primer, I'm able to achieve a little bit of a lighter coverage look like I'm wearing today. The very first time that I wore the foundation, I have to admit that I didn't really care for it. I was wearing the foundation in the video where I shared my empties, where I had a yellow eyeshadow look with a purple lipstick. I'll link it up in the cards in case you haven't checked that one out. I was also wearing that look in another video, but I can't remember right now what it is. It was definitely in the empties video, and I just felt that my skin looked a little bit artificial, which I mean, I guess it does when you have full coverage, and it's just not my favorite. I was editing that video and I didn't love the way my skin looks, just because it was too heavy of a layer for what I personally prefer, and that's my own fault. It's nothing having to do with the brand, because there are definitely plenty of people that appreciate a heavier coverage foundation. I'm just not one of them. Overall, I have to say that the foundation wears very well throughout the day, but it does have a very luminous finish, which I personally love, but it doesn't really fully dry down, and so it is a foundation that I prefer to powder just a little bit, and the powder that I've been using with it has been the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Powder, because that one doesn't get rid of all the luminosity that the foundation has, and I really enjoy that aspect of the foundation. Now I want to go ahead and cut through the application so that you can see how I apply the foundation and how small of an amount I actually use to achieve this kind of coverage. So I'm still working off of the sample that was prepared to me at Sephora, and so I can't show you how the pump works, but I want to show you the consistency of the foundation. It's a little bit thicker than the Ilia one for sure, which is a serum foundation, but it definitely has more of a liquid consistency rather than a cream. My primer today is going to be my current favorite primer, the Watermelon Burst Hydrating Primer from Ciate London. It's a water-based primer just like the foundation, and I'll be applying it with my Luxie 512. It's not my first time using the foundation, but a couple of the other times I used different primers. I used the Pat McGrath primer with it, for example, and I didn't really enjoy it with that primer. That primer doesn't really have a sticky kind of consistency to it. And so I found that I obtained a lot more coverage from this foundation than I wanted. Now, in a sense, that's my own fault because looking at the package, actually, this is advertised to be a hydrating medium to full coverage foundation for all skin tones. And I typically prefer sheer to medium coverage. And I don't know, somehow I guess I thought that since the first foundation was very full coverage, that this one was going to be more sheer, and I wasn't paying that close attention. And if I use a primer that doesn't have that sticky base, the foundation gives me a lot more coverage than I personally prefer. So I wanted to make sure I demonstrated it with the Ciate primer. I have found the shade match to be okay. I'm using the shade 260, and that is my shade match based on the Sephora shade matcher. And even in person, when I was swatching the different foundations, this one did seem like it was going to be the best match, though I have to say that it's a little bit more on the peachy side than I typically prefer. I figured today would be a good day to do my foundation review because I do have a performance later this evening here in Chicago. It's a dance performance, and thank you for the lovely feedback on my dress. You guys were really nice when you saw that post I shared in the community tab. But anyway, I'm putting a lot of faith in the foundation since I will be on stage today, and I won't mind the coverage as much. For daytime and work, I don't think I would necessarily go for this foundation, but for stage makeup, it's actually ideal for someone with my dry skin type. I swear that primer makes everything better. It's now my third or fourth time wearing this foundation, and this is probably the lightest application I've been able to achieve, so it's definitely the primer. If you look at what I have left on my watch glass, I used almost nothing. I literally dipped my brush twice, and that's what I used to dab it around my face, and then I just blend it all the way through. And it is a very easy to spread foundation because it is a dimethicone formula, but I've also mentioned how this brush doesn't absorb too much of the product since it isn't very dense, and it allows me to both thin the foundation out as well as make a little bit go a long way. So here you have one layer of the foundation applied. Now, usually for most of the foundations that I like, I will go back into this area here where I have hyperpigmentation. Since this one has higher coverage, I don't feel the need to do that. So I'm gonna go finish the rest of my makeup, and I will come back to give you my final thoughts on the foundation at the end. I don't think I'm gonna be doing wear tests since this is not my first time wearing the foundation. I can speak pretty confidently about it at this time, but if I get a chance, I will definitely put in a couple of clips in between my getting ready and then obviously at the end of my makeup application so that you can see how it's going. Hi, I wanted to show you what the foundation looks like in natural sunlight. The sun is actually setting right in front of me. The church bells are going off. My performance is in the evening, so it's a little bit later on in the afternoon, and I think the foundation looks great in natural sunlight. I think you might be able to see how I was saying that it has a little bit more of a peachy finish to it than my typical foundation. When you compare it to my natural skin tone, I don't think it's an exact shade match, but it's definitely not bad, and other products layered beautifully over it. You can see my shadow there. Yeah, definitely losing sunlight, so I wanted to show you how the foundation looks before it got a little bit darker. So I would love to hear your thoughts down below. For now, I'm gonna go finish doing my hair. It is cold out here. I'm definitely gonna be needing a jacket. I think summer is definitely gone. I'll be back in just a little bit for you. I'm checking out for now. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing the demo as well as the daytime shot so you can see what the foundation looks like in natural daylight. I do think that it looks beautiful. However, I feel that personally I'm tweaking what the foundation is truly intended to be by applying such a sheer layer. And of course you can do that with any foundation, but I prefer to have the foundation kind of do that for me. And I recently reviewed the Ilia True Skin Serum Foundation, and I am so in love with that foundation. It's like it was made for me, truly. And even though I think that I might like this foundation for special occasions, those special occasions are few and far between, and I'm perfectly comfortable in my own skin, and sheer coverage is just fine even on my more glam days. So I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this. Again, I think it's a good foundation, but don't be like me and make sure to read the foundation so that you know it's medium to full coverage. It's a little bit more difficult to get a more sheer application, although my favorite primer definitely helps. So overall, I have to say I like the foundation, but I don't love it. And I shared that when I was talking to you about the Ilia foundation. Honestly, I would have worn the Ilia foundation today if I wasn't focused on doing this review for you. And that really goes to show with how I'm feeling about it. I like both Fenty Beauty foundations. I think they're very high quality. The shade range is amazing. The price point is very reasonable, but I think that those aren't going to be my ride or die foundations. I have others that I love more, and I will probably use those a lot more in my day-to-day. I would definitely not go for something like this for work because it's just a little too heavy. I do find that it settles a little bit in my marionette lines, and I'd rather feel more comfortable when I'm at work. So not necessarily a foundation for every day, but not a bad foundation. I hope that this is making some kind of sense. I do like it. It's just not my personal flavor. I wanted to share my opinions on the foundation because I know that here on my channel, a lot of you really prefer light coverage foundations like I do, and so I wanted to share my opinion on this one. I do hope that you found it helpful. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up for me. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, as I would love to have you join my makeup family. I hope you're having a lovely day so far, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon on my next one. Bye-bye.